What's the most illegal thing you've done as a teenager, besides getting music illegally, while also giving the home computer 37 different viruses? I once broke into a water park with a bunch of friends during the winter months. For those that don't know, water parks drain all the water to prevent ice from forming in the pipes. We infiltrated the park in long sleeves and long pants to prevent fiberglass burns while going down the slides. I don't remember how young I was, but I was at my cousin's house and there was this fenced-in yard with big, angry-looking huskers/malamutes that all the kids knew not to go near. I was a late bloomer, so my cousin's friends must have dared me to go over there or something, but I can't remember why I did. I found out that the dogs were in horrible condition. They had no water available, and it was summer, and they had a lot of fur. Their collars had metal spikes facing inward and some of them had cuts on their necks from those collars. There were 4 or 5 of them, can't remember exactly, and the only shade available was a small tent made from a small tarp over a string between 2 trees. They were all chained to the ground with chains that couldn't have been more than 6 feet, 2 meters, long. Something just came over me. I jumped the fence and freed them all. None of them tried to stop me or bite me or anything. They all gave me tons of kisses, jumped the fence, ran off into the woods, and I never saw or heard of them again. Until like 20 years later, when I was retelling the story and my aunt goes, "That was you." That was a big deal. There were cops everywhere looking for a dog thief. Those dogs were being severely mistreated. I stand by my decision. I had a part-time job when I was 17 working at a small independent PC repair type shop. Boss was doing all kinds of shady stuff, handling stolen goods. Place would have regular break-ins when it just so happened that we had a load of inventory that was beyond economical repair years. After I moved away, he actually got jailed for a combination of insurance fraud and burglary, but that's a whole other story. The business had a couple of locations and a couple of business clients they would do on-site work for. So, 17-year-old me gets asked by the boss, "How are your driving lessons going?" I'd had about 5 hours behind the wheel at that point. Was going okay. He takes me out into the car park and has me drive one of the company cars around it a couple of times. Then says, "Right, this car is for you to use now. I need you to go and visit and do." I was thrilled. It was a nice car, albeit plastered all over with the company's name and contact info. I drove that car around for about 8 months. All the other engineer types with the company had their own, so it effectively became my car, with no license, insurance, etc. Looking back, like, that was dumb. Lucky nobody got hurt, or that I didn't run afoul of the law. Definitely not proud of being such an idiot at the time. I had a friend who decided to make a potato cannon. It was great fun. We figured after many uses that hairspray worked best and golf balls wrapped in plastic bags and tape packed the most punch. Potato Cannon MK2 had a gaslight sparker, much more compact, and a streamlined design for extra force. My mate got his license, and one night we decided to go driving around with the launcher at 2 AM. We fired at street signs and various other things until we decided to go to the rival high school. We did a drive-by and launched a projectile straight through the entrance windows. Allegedly, lol. Looking back on it, it was really dumb, and we were just stupid teenagers. I'm just glad that the early 90s didn't have security everywhere and didn't take this sort of thing so seriously. We also had a war memorial in our town, on a bit of a hill. There were old cannons there at the top. We realized at some stage that a 2-liter bottle fit perfectly down the barrel of the cannon. So we loaded up a chlorine bomb with hardly any shaking it, jammed it down the barrel with a stick and unloaded a bunch of rocks in it. It fired them so hard out the barrel that it hit house roofs below. My teenage years were filled with lots of homemade explosives and other dangerous things. I'm just glad I didn't lose a limb or my life looking back on it. My buddies and I lit a bush on fire near someone's house. We didn't know there was dry brush, and somehow, when it caught fire, it ran upside the house to a dead tree and lit the house on fire. There was no one home, but all 5 of us broke into it and ran inside to check and called the 911 to tell them we broke into the house because we saw it was on fire and tried to save anyone who may have been inside. People who got house burned got a nice check from their insurance and a brand new home. And we got our names in small local newspaper for teenage bravery. Oh man. When I was 17 I was in a band. They were all older. 21 to 25. We just finished playing a gig in South Central. One of my friends was a security guard. He had a badge that he wore while working along with his cuffs, bat and ECT. He asked me to come help him with something, and we walk up to these two guys who were selling weed down the street. He runs up, grabs a guy, cuffs him and tells him, "Give me all of what you got and I'll consider not taking you to jail tonight." The guy complied and gave him around $200 to $300 worth of weed. We leave and go back to the gig that was in someone's backyard and smoked all the weed. I assaulted someone and caused great bodily harm, putting them in the hospital and causing one of their eyes to go partially blind. I'm not going to go into detail for obvious reasons, but one of my best friends was murdered. I had just come back to school after having some time to grieve, but I was still pretty messed up and still not really in any condition to be out in public. I was bullied pretty regularly by a couple of upperclassmen, but it was pretty harmless stuff. Physically, usually embarrassing pranks or calling me names. They had no idea what had happened and just thought I went away on vacation for a while, so they thought they would welcome me back by filling a water bottle full of mud and dumping it down my back under my shirt. Well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I whipped around and pushed the one that did it to the ground and unleashed all my pent-up emotions on him. His friend ran to go get help. I pretty much beat this kid until he stopped moving and broke a few of my knuckles on his face. I don't know how long I beat on him for, but it went by in a flash for me. I'm not proud of it, and I wish I could have handled it better. Long story short, he and his family decided not to press charges or anything. After I went to visit him in the hospital, apologized, and explained what I was going through. On the bright side, he never bullied anyone again as far as I know, and I never got bullied again at that school. One time, I drove past a couple of cops at 95 miles per hour and decided to flee instead of pulling over. Those were the days before dash cams, and I managed to get away. Another time I built and set off a pipe bomb in my backyard. We had a really big backyard and nobody was home, so I got away with that too. Don't do that, by the way. Several pieces of metal ended up buried in trees, and if one of those had hit me, I'd be dead. My brother and I also made and played with napalm and black powder, but that's not actually illegal. It's a wonder anybody from my generation survived to adulthood. I never did it, but around New Year's my parents were totally fine with letting my older brother, around 18 at the time, drink from the selection of alcohol on display on our bar dresser storage thing. They let him go hard, but made sure he didn't poison himself. They were fine with me and my brother's underage drinking on certain special occasions after a certain point, since they could watch us and make sure we didn't kill ourselves. Other than that, piracy and always putting in a fake birth date/age for a website asking for it. This was circa 2001. So I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations has long run out. Also, the restaurant in question is long closed. Me and my boy found out that the Mexican restaurant down the road from us left their gate in the back unlocked. Inside that gate was another little gated/fenced area, and it was locked, but the chain around it was so loose we could pull the gate open and slide our bodies through. That in a gated area was what many restaurants call the beer cage. It's where they kept all their beer that wasn't being refrigerated under the bar. He and I used to sneak out around 2 to 3 AM and swipe a 12-pack or 2 of something from in there, take it back to his house and proceed to get hammered for free. Plus we were underage, so we didn't have to worry about getting carded. We really had a good thing going for a couple of months. They kept leaving that gate unlocked, and we were stealing maybe to 12 packs per month out to that place. Not really enough to be noticed, apparently, because they never did anything to stop us. My friend and I stupidly let it slip to some other friends what we had been doing. A week-ish later, me, my friend, and like 4 other dudes were backing a tuck up to this restaurant at 3 in the morning and just swiping every bit of beer they had. We must have taken like 20, 12 packs, 15, 6 packs. Like we literally stole all the beer they had. It was stupid and also greedy. IDK what we were thinking. That was in the newspaper. There was a reward for anyone who had any information leading to an arrest. Somehow between the 6 of us, word never got out. We ended up drinking all the evidence in fairly rapid fashion. All I can do is be thankful this was before the days of literally every corner of every building having some kind of camera mounted. You could never get away with something like that today.